leaders of the New Democratic Party, under our esteemed leader, the Honorable Dr. Godwin Friday, is not a job that could be accomplished by just him and his executive. We need all hands on deck. And by you being here this evening is a clear indication that you are willing to play your part and to play your role. And I want to thank you. I have used every given opportunity to thank Nationals of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, because you have been making a valuable contribution to St. Vincent. Had it not been for the Western Unions and the barrels, I am afraid that our people would have been in a much worse situation. But what we'd have to do, instead of us going down one channel, like a stream of water, one running here, another running there, we would have to come together and be one massive flow, like when river come down in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. You know that expression? Because it is the only way we will be able to redeem and to save St. Vincent. As it is right now, our country is on life support. Make no bones about it. Our healthcare is a frightening thing to mention in St. Vincent. Our justice system right now is the equivalent of dog poo. You used to be able to take the criminal to court in St. Vincent. Now it seems to be the other way around, that we're taking the court to the criminals. That is how bad it is. We have the teachers who mold the mind of our children, who create and prepare them. We see the way they were treated. And so I just want to open with this salvo. Now I will do some community events following in Ken's footstep. And I'd like to actually start out by looking at the people, or those brothers and sisters who are ill, and those who have left us for another path. It is of fundamental importance that we acknowledge the contribution of those who have done so in the past. In terms of those who are sick, I would like to start with Brother Kenneth Roberts. Most of you might not know him, or might not know some of the names I'll be calling, but I want you to be informed that these people have not just made a contribution to our community, but they have done so towards the development of St. Vincent and the Grenadines as a whole. So we have Kenneth Roberts, who is sick. We have Pandora Weeks, who is actually sick with dementia. We have a brother by the name of Milton Douglas, who is also sick. And these people is locked away, whereby they're not able to be out and about. And we usually send flowers to most of these people when they're deceased. I want to ask you to give them the flowers now that they're still with us. We also have Paul Woods, a dynamic sister, a dynamic leader. She was once the president of the Bakery Association. Paul has been ailing for quite some time, and I want her to know and want you to know that she is in our thoughts and she is in our prayer. And I ask you to pray for these people who are not feeling well. We also have Alfred Bino, another vibrant member, who is also very ill at this point in time. We have Glenn Dodds, who is also sick and is indoors. We also have Dennis Barnwell. Most of you would recall Dennis, a vibrant, quiet leader. It is not all of us who is in the leadership role usually comes out and appears to be vibrant, but we cannot overlook the silent ones as well. because behind the scene, they're doing tremendous work. Unfortunately, Dennis' wife, Eldine Barnwell, who took over when Dennis passed away, is now suffering from dementia and also need our praise and for you to keep her in our thoughts. Frank Wilson, the late Frank Wilson, was president of the Union Islands Association. Frank just left us recently. His wife and children, I would like you to actually keep in your thoughts and also in our prayers. Just recently, and everyone knows Nola, and I'm talking about Nola Smith of Highwood Bakery. We know Nola as a person who has been a pillar of strength in our community. I haven't done this for some time, so I'm getting personal. Nola's husband, Eugene, just left us. And it is of paramount importance that we reach out to Nola and let her know that she is not in her sorrow alone. And whatever we can do to comfort her, I implore you to do so. We also had Ambassador Denny, who departed this scene quite recently. We also would like to reach out to his family to let her know that we do care and think of her. How can we as a people ever forget the contribution by Sir James Mitchell, the leader of the party, and one of St. Vincent's most progressive leaders? Just because these people are no longer with us does not mean that we should forget them and the contribution they have made. It is of paramount importance that we do so. We move now from the sick and those. I was just told that there is a car that was now turned off. The number is CCDZ Q44. Could you kindly attend to your car? Also, much thanks and appreciation should be given to Douglas De Freitas. Douglas De Freitas of Nice Radio. Here is an individual that the present regime in St. Vincent tried to actually strangle the very life out of him. Try to take Nice Radio off the air. A station that keeps us posted with what is going on in our country. I just want Douglas De Freitas to know that those of us who are in North America, not just in Canada, Dougie, we have your back and will always come to your defense, even when those of a criminal nature try to put you out of business. We also like to thank people like Bert, Margaret, Colin, Gypsy. These are people who daily keep us posted in terms of what is going on. And loud and clear, and I know they would get the message. Because these days, with Facebook and other such tools that is available, like we like to say, if we sneeze in Canada, the whole of the world gets pneumonia. So we know they would get the message. Now, we look at St. Vincent, and I was just making the point about how it is up to us who keeps St. Vincent alive. You want proof of that? Check the Western Union line. We used to be one of the most productive islands when it comes to agriculture. And we can see from day one, if you go back to 2001, the government made it clear one of the most ridiculous, one of the most asinine statements that agriculture was an old-time thing. Where are you going with agriculture? And so a lot of people who were able to share, and we are very sharing, we are very caring people. Very often, Auntie Margaret would give Dorothy a hand of banana. She would share also maybe 2 tanyas, and that is how we used to live. A government which is supposed to actually keep the people together, because if we are divided, we would fall. And this is why I say if St. Vincent's on life support, we have fallen down in every aspect of life. And we the people have got to say, enough of that. We're going to take back our country. I won't go into the full aspect of agriculture because I know other speakers would be dealing with that. The ones who are here, and I want to welcome the team, because you know the wise old folks have a saying, if Shah come out this year and tell you Barracuda have to take, don't doubt it. So they would also be dealing with the question of agriculture. But I must also touch on tourism. That is something the government say they were putting all the eggs into that tourism basket. But who are they trying to fool? Tourism has been a failure because the government neglect to put proper things into place to preserve tourism and to promote it. If you might have been fortunate, you might have seen where Barbados is now saying Barbados and the Grenadines. How the hell can you actually, in any geography, attach Barbados to the Grenadines? But they realize the potential that we have. But we have a government that is killing that potential. We have an airport in Beckwith, and I don't want to steal the leader's thunder because that's his constituency. But I feel it's important to put this on the table, put it out there, so that you can know, you can understand what is going on in the country. We have a movie called The Pirate of the Caribbean, a movie that made millions and millions of dollars. Now, if they were so concerned or so interested, not merely just paying lip service, but genuinely interested in tourism, the Pirates of the Caribbean built something, a structure in Walilabu. Now, Walilabu is just past Barley, for those of you who might not even remember the layout of St. Vincent. And the government allow it to fall apart. So when they come out, and they are going to come out, because right now I hear the Prime Minister, who is a lip service practitioner, talking about how they have built houses. The NDP have not built any houses. These are money that was sent during the eruption of La Soufrière. And rather than building homes for the people who were put out because of the volcano eruption, they're keeping it back to use as election bait. Here is a man who have actually insulted Vincentians. And I want you to actually take this in, because when they come, you would know that they are not serious. Ralph Gonsalves said that Vincentians abroad were hand to mouth. But at the same time, as I explained, you just have to check the Western Union line to realize that, hey, what he's talking there is a bunch of bullshit. It's pardon my expression, but that's how I feel about it. He also makes statement to the effect that he have a hook. I mean, how insulting can one get? He have a hook in Vincentian mouth. Are we fishers? His son, no much better than that. also make statement to the effect that NDP people must suffer. NDP people would have to die. I mean, not even mafia behave like that in today's world. Where does this guy come up from to be talking to us in that manner? And what is of great concern to me is how people in St. Vincent could actually sit back, take it as if nothing was said. Having said all of that, I don't want to go on, otherwise I could take up the whole evening and would deprive those people who are here to further enlighten us as to what is going on in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. But I just want to deal with one more issue. Ralph Gonsalves wrote a book called The Making of the Comrade. I don't know how many of you might have read that book. But in that book, and these are my words, I am only telling you what he wrote. He talked about a near-death experience he had in Connery. And every Vincentian knew when you pass Bible, the sea is rough. You don't go and bathe in it, regardless how strong a swimmer you are, until you get up to somewhere like Fancy. Those people know how to deal with the sea and can actually swim in a safe manner. But in his book, Ralph Gonsalves talked about a lady who saved his life. This lady was a nurse. This lady, he said, was Glenn Jackson's mother. And how many of you remember how Glenn Jackson met his end? Glenn Jackson, who actually assisted Ralph in the 2000 revolution, as we like to call it, the roadblock revolution. He hated that word, but that is exactly how things went that way. The same Glenn Jackson became his press secretary after a time. Then when Glenn, as a conscientious Vincentian, sees that things weren't going right, he made an open statement that he had a bomb to drop. In a matter of less than 24 hours, Glenn was found murdered. Ralph Gonsalves made a statement saying, you don't leave the family. Again, mafia language. Not the language of a person who was elected in a democratic society. We know, or we heard of Lord Cruikshank, Edgar Lord Cruikshank, who was once a stalwart ULP leader. He also met an untimely death. So these are threats that we shouldn't take lightly. We have to be guarded, and we have to come to the conclusion that enough is enough, and it is time to take back St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Having said all of that, each and every one of you here today is of paramount importance. But I would also like to recognize or acknowledge some of the leaders. In our midst, we have Dr. David Joyett. David, where are you? Stand up so that people can actually see me different. We have Cordell Telfer, president of the unit of the Vincentian Association. Cordell have been in the trenches and have always had the interests of St. Vincent and the Grenadines at heart. Brother, we commend you for your contribution. We also have Brother Daisley, who is here with us. We saw that just recently. Brother Daisley, so you stand. Brother Daisley was an educator in this country, one who made a valuable contribution not only to our children, but the children of Canadian parents who happen to be of Vincentian origin and others. Larry, we thank you for your vital work. We also have some sisters that I would like to acknowledge. They're always quiet. Petra comes to mind, but she has always been there, a dynamic community worker. And we have some others. Anyway, with that in mind, I am going to call on Brother David Joyett to introduce the next speaker. That speaker is Sister Love. You coming first? No, we have three. I was just reminded I'm going to fast. As a God-fearing society, we are people who believe in prayer. So we're going to have the anthem, and then we're going to have a prayer. Thank you. We now have the prayer. As a God-fearing people, we do look and do believe in the Almighty to guide us, give us strength. And with that, we call Sister Brown to do the prayer.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for your goodness towards us. We thank you for gathering us here in one accord. We thank you because we have the same mind, and that is to see the forward of our country. And so even, Father, we are instructed that we should pray for our country and for our government. So I pray for Ralph Gonsalve by name. I pray, Father, that you would strengthen him. And I pray, Father, you would give him a heart like yours. Not one of stone, but a heart like yours. Father, we know what he is doing to our country is not what you would have ordained. But Father, when Israel wanted a king, you didn't want to give them one, but they pushed for one, and you gave them exactly what they were asked for. And even so, as Vincentians made their choice, God, they're suffering. They're suffering badly. So, Father, we ask that you would release them. Release us by your grace. I pray, Father, for our dear Dr. Friday, that you're going to instill in him your module, the way you would want to see your people go. Father, you say without a vision, our people would perish. Father, you say, except you build a house, the one who builds it in vain. You say, without you guarding the city, the watchman watcheth, but in vain. So we pray, Father, that you would give Dr. Friday what he needs, not what he wants, but what you need him to have to lead our country aright. There is so much going on in our country, Father. The rape, the disrespect, the anger, the killing, the different crimes, incest that is being kept so silent, that is so prevalent in our country, Father. We ask for your help. Father, we come against the spirit of everything that is not of you. The spirit of fear, God, we bring in the spirit of peace. The spirit of war, we speak peace in the name of Jesus. Father, we ask for everything that is not like you or of you to be removed in the name of Jesus. We ask for a sound mind for our people, God. Father, where there is fear, we ask that you would bring peace. God, where there is destruction, we ask that you would bring calm in the name of Jesus. We thank you, Father, for what you're going to do. We pray that you would prepare the hearts of your people. Give them a sound mind, Father. And even as we are here trying to solve problems, try to create things that can help our people, we thank you for your guidance. We thank you for the panelists that are here. We pray that you would give them clarity of mind. Give us peace of mind as we go throughout this evening. We thank you for your grace and your mercies. In Jesus' name we pray and with thanksgiving. Amen.
Now the NDP, under the dynamic leadership of Dr. Godwin Friday, knows that the job of rebuilding St. Vincent does not just rest with men alone. For too long, a lot of things have been based around the Old Boys Club. And if you notice, there is a tremendous balance of women in our party. Evidence of it that we have two of them right here today, A third one could not make it from New York. As the brother just said, hey, I don't know if those of you in the back heard him. He was saying they are quality female sisters. And on that question, your daughters or your sister don't have to be afraid when the NDP take power to go to any offices, because we know they would be treated with dignity and respect. We also know, going back to our childhood days, and speaking from my own experience, if my father had a slight headache, he was in bed. You would think he would die the next day. But my mother, she would complain, but she would carry on. And it goes to show, whether we want to acknowledge it or not, that woman is more resilient than those of us men. And that we cannot build a country without our women folks. Not just the sisters who's up here, but each and every one of you in the audience and those at home and abroad. We are depending on you. We are going to form a partnership with you. We're not just going to ask you to vote and support us because of the dignity and respect that I just talked about. You would have a seat at the table, and it is the only way that we can change what is going on in St. Vincent. With that being said, I am going to bring a very young lady, and to show that we are also preparing to have people in waiting, people who is ready to take over from those of us who is getting down in age. And so with that in mind, not wanting to take more time, I would just say that Sister Laverne is a qualified person, a hard-working person, a dedicated worker to St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And with that in mind, I have the greatest pleasure to bring to the microphone Sister Laverne.
Thank you so much, Nikki. It gives me great joy and honor to be here this evening. You're all looking so wonderful, and I promise you that you're rivaling the attendance in New York, right, Doc? I want to thank first the organizers for inviting me and having me here this evening. I wish to say good afternoon to President of the New Democratic Party and Leader of the Opposition, Dr. the Honorable Godwin Friday, also MP and Chairman of the party, Daniel Cummins, Sister and Senator Siobhan John. It's an honor to be sharing the platform with you this evening. Friends, I've come by here this afternoon to talk to you plain and simple and tell you the truth. Oftentimes when we come on the platform, on political platforms, we present things in a polished way. We pretty it up a little bit. And so sometimes people miss the unfiltered reality of how bad things are in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So I could talk to you plain, right? Right. The first fact is this. St. Vincent and the Grenadines has an unemployment rate of over 41% amongst our young people. That simply means that almost half of the young people in St. Vincent and the Grenadines are without a work. They're not working no way. They're not doing nothing. Right? We agree that we're going to talk the truth and we're going to do it unfiltered. Last week in New York, I said that I had a list of 44 broken promises that the ULP made to the young people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And I mentioned 3 of them. I said that they promised that they will reduce the interest rate on student loans. They have not done that. They said that they will improve and make better book loan scheme. They have not done that. They said that they will spend time on community crime prevention techniques and rehabilitation programs. They have not done that. In fact, friends, last night, St. Vincent and the Grenadines matched our homicide count of last year, which was 42. This is October. We have more months to go. Another young man is gone, shot. Gun violence is out of control in SVG. I'm sure it's almost every week you expect to hear of another gun crime at home, and it must be sad. I told you that I came to not polish it up and to tell you the truth, and that is the reality. You know, I said I had a list of 44 and I gave 3 in New York, so I must give 3 in Toronto as well, right? So I have 3 tonight. It's not night yet. I have 3 this evening for you. In the ULP's 2020 Youth Manifesto, they said that they were going to build apartments for sale, especially for young professionals. Well, I don't have one. So I can tell you that that hasn't happened as yet. More and more young people are frustrated because they can't even get a job. Further, how are they going to own a home when they don't have a work? Many of us don't know when we will become a homeowner. Many young people are starting their own families within their family homes. And this is not because we're lazy. It is because several of us are either unemployed or underemployed, and so we just simply can't afford it. In other words, ends now meet. And several of us are stretching our hearts where a hand cannot reach in terms of home ownership. The ULP told us that they were going to support more cultural and creative professionals with prime grants. Well, friends, it seems as though that prime doesn't have a dime left. Because it's been a while since we've heard about that program. In fact, creatives and soca artists are fighting tooth and nail with CDC for fair payment for services and for their skills. And prime grants were seemingly offered based on curry favor. The truth is simply that the government hides up who they give grants to. It makes me wonder, why are they keeping who get grants secret? Since when are grants a matter of national security that must be protected at all costs? Is the prime grants being used to peddle funds to party supporters of the ULP and not being awarded based on merit? There are more questions than answers when it comes to the prime grants because accountability and transparency are foreign concepts to the ULP. That is 2. Remember, I told you I'm giving 3. The ULP said in their manifesto that they will boost technical and vocational education training, TVET. They have not done so. Instead, we are now importing people to mix concrete. Can you imagine that? I see a lot of people looking shocked. It's a fact. I tell you, I wasn't going to polish it up this evening. Our education system does not cater to young people who want to become skilled laborers. Our education system does not cater for the developmental needs of our country. In September of 2002, that is last year, our Prime Minister declared that we were experiencing a shortage of skilled labor, of skilled workers. And friends, just a couple of weeks ago, the halfway Minister of Education, Curtis, as a matter of fact, let me tell you why I say Curtis King is a halfway Minister of Education. the Prime Minister decided that he was going to split the Ministry of Education in two. He took the part that deals with tertiary education and awarding grants for himself, because remember, he's Minister of Everything and doing nothing. And he left Curtis King with primary school and secondary school. So you're with me when I say he's a halfway Minister of Education, right? Right. And Mr. Cummings would say he's a junior Minister of Education. So the junior Minister of Education, Curtis King, a couple weeks ago, echoed the sentiments of the Prime Minister, saying that there's an urgent need for changes in our education system, with a particular emphasis on technical and vocational education. Imagine that. Only now. Well, it's a good thing you say 23 years later, Mr. Cummings, because I'm going to remind those of us who might have forgotten, because my memory is not short. So I want to remind everybody of something. Who in here can remember the promise of the cross-country road? In fact, that was promised before several of you moved to Canada, right? All right. In 2001, in the ULP manifesto, they promised us a road connecting the sides of the island from Byra over to the leeward side. And when he was asked about it in 2006, the Prime Minister said that skilled labor was a factor in the delay of the project. And here we are in 2023 with the same problem, saying that we are short on skilled laborers. So here we are without a cross-country road and still coming up short with skilled laborers. In other words, then I do nothing about the problem. We still there where we were in 2001. That is not progress. The problem with the ULP is that they think that they can do anything and say anything and get away with it because they think we're memory short. They think that we have forgotten that they have said that the people in the diaspora are dog walkers, that they are people who do not have decent lodgings and live in basements, internet crazies, and people with jobs of no significance. Imagine talking about hardworking Vincentians in such a degrading manner. Imagine trying to belittle fellow countrymen who are earning an honest dollar. The very dollar that is sent back home to keep St. Vincent and the Grenadines, to keep families going under the ULP because they have failed to provide adequate jobs at home. Friends, it is your hard-earned dollar for several years that amounts to millions and exceeds what we generate in export. In simple terms, remittances account for more revenue coming into St. Vincent and the Grenadines than exports generate. And before they say I lie, as I love to say, we're exaggerating, let me give you the statistics, and it's not according to me. It is according to the ECCB and the World Bank. So it's not me. If they want to argue about lies, tell them go argue with the ECCB, right? So it says that in 2018, remittances collected was $125 million, whilst export accounted for $117 million. In 2019, remittances was $214 million, whilst export was $106. And even during COVID in 2020, remittances was $163 million, whilst export was $148 million. So when the ULP try to embarrass you, always remember that your remittances is doing way more than what we generate in revenue from export. But how How can we address this growing concern in our import and export figures? How can we improve on our export when our productive sectors are severely underfunded? The Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries only received a meager 3% of the national budget, translating to only $27 million. Fisheries received a paltry $2.4 million to conduct essential operations. This underfunding not only hampers the sector's growth, but it also shows the ULP's blatant disregard for that sector, the hardworking people of the sector, and how little value they place on Minister Saboto Caesar. The ULP is hardly a meritocracy. It doesn't matter what someone has done in the past. It doesn't matter what their accomplishments are. It doesn't matter whether or not they're a good minister. If anyone in the ULP challenges or even perceives to challenge the ULP leadership and the Gonzalez dynasty, they are put back in their place. Just look at what happened to Saboto at the last ULP convention. They really set him up. His supporters were in full swing at the rally chanting, "Caesar, Caesar," only to be silenced. It is evident that the ULP will not render unto Caesar what is Caesar's. It is evident that Ralph and Camillo are the decision makers, and despite the efforts by Caesar, the Gonzalez dynasty is all that matters. Friends, all is not well in the ULP camp, and our nation is suffering for it. Our nation needs a strong leader and a party that is focused on working for the people, not a party with Cain and Abel constantly at each other's throat. They are taking the country for granted, the people for granted, and not making progress on the issues that matter to our people. They have no plan. The truth is that they keep throwing things at the wall, and they hope that someday something will stick. And as I said before, more of the time, they simply hope that we would not remember what they said and what they promised. Friends, the time has come for St. Vincent and the Grenadines to have a government with a solid plan to lead us to prosperity. A government with a leader who wants to do right by our people. And just last week, before we come up here, Dr. Friday launched the National Youth Guarantee Pledge. And in this pledge, Dr. Friday has committed to providing every young Vincentian with either a job, an internship, or the opportunity of being enrolled in a skills training program. That is a solid plan. Our country deserves so much better, and our young people deserve so much better. They deserve an education system that develops and upskills them. Education is so important for our knowledge, our children, and our country. It helps our economy to grow. It helps us to build society, and it helps to build our nation. They deserve a criminal justice system that protects us, punishes those who commit crimes, and rehabilitates those that we can. They deserve an economy that will thrive and create jobs and opportunities for the future, so that all young people will not be forced to go abroad unless they really, really want to. They deserve the opportunity to be able to create sustainable income and be employed in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And this is what Dr. Friday and his team promises to do. I want to jump down and reiterate that it is simply time for St. Vincent and the Grenadines to work. And I know that you play your fair part in the diaspora, but I'm pretty sure that you want to put some of the money that you send back maybe into your retirement fund, maybe into investing in a new business, but you can't do that and leave your families at home hungry. But I'll tell you something. With an NDP government led by Dr. Godwin Friday, there will be more opportunities at home. That means less dependency on you. You want an NDP government. Dr. Friday has always said that he is not concerned about how people got their jobs in so much as he is concerned that you are doing your job. Because a productive St. Vincent and the Grenadines is a prosperous St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The truth is that we have a team of people. You see some of them here today. The Honorable Daniel Cummins, the Honorable Siobhan John, Nigel Nature Stevenson, the Honorable Terence Oliver, several members of our team who are working tirelessly, who are working day and night to ensure that we turn things around. And in our leader, Dr. Friday, you have a worker. You have a man with a vision and who truly wants to do better for our country. The truth is that we do not have to be the worst in the OECS. We can do better, and we will do better with your support and with the leadership of Dr. Godwin Friday. Thank you so much.
You see very clearly when I say we have talented people that I wasn't exaggerating. The sisters have done an excellent job paid today. And you ain't seen nothing yet. You should see her on the ground in St. Vincent, moving mountains. And could you imagine with your help, your hands, how much more she can actually push down? Who of you remember Flambeau? You remember that bottle we used to put electricity is something that we take here for granted. We just walk in our apartments and we flick a switch and light comes on. To have light in St. Vincent is a nightmare. There was a time when people used to be afraid of the dark. Now when Vincentians get the bill, they're afraid to open it. I said that we were reaching out. We're not just here to ask you for your support, as vital and as important that is. We really want to mend bridges. We want to involve you in a meaningful way so that all of us could move St. Vincent forward. With that in mind, I would like to call on Dr. David Joyett to introduce the next speaker. David.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for coming. Now, teachers, I used to be one, still is one. The good old days. A teacher, a senator, a charming and charismatic person in St. Vincent and the Grenadines who have done quite a bit to help the people of St. Vincent, opening the eyes of the politicians there, the Gunsaw government. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please help me welcome Senator John.
Thank you very much. President of the New Democratic Party and leader of the opposition, Dr. the Honorable Godwin Friday, members and president of the organizing committee here in Toronto, our vice president, Honorable Daniel Cummins. Oh, Chairman, sorry, yes. and PRO Laverne King. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Good evening, Vincentians. I want to thank you all for being here this evening to hear the plans of the NDP as we bring the hope for home right here in Toronto. And as we invite you to listen to us in whatever way you can to join us home in St. Vincent and the Grenadines when that time is right. I want to thank the host for the various persons here who have been staying at different locations for their kindness and their generosity throughout the past days that we have been with them. We can all agree that St. Vincent and the Grenadines needs a new path. After 22 years of a wicked administration, it is time for them to go. I want you to join me, and as you know, I'm very spiritual. So I turn to 2 Corinthians chapter 4 and verse 18, and it says, fix our eyes not on what is seen, but what is unseen. For what is seen is temporary. Hope is what we want for St. Vincent and the Grenadines. That is what is unseen, and that is what we are working towards. As a mother, a wife, an educator, a community builder, my heart cries for the mothers who struggles daily to buy books and feed their children. My heart cries for those young girls and young boys who are being sexually exploited because of increased poverty in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So this evening, I want to talk to you about how I will represent North Windward as part of the New Democratic Party's government that will take office when the next general elections are called. My involvement in community development in North Windward predates my NDP candidacy. I have taught for over 20 years. I have served in multiple organizations in my community and nationally. I love sports, so I'm a netballer, and I play different ones at different levels. I say all those so that you can understand why my entry into politics is not one that can be taken lightly. Since my entry into politics in 2020, I've never stopped working. I've never stopped organizing and facilitating sporting activities and community activities in my constituency. I've been going night, weeks, house to house, visiting people, finding out what are the issues that are affecting them so that I can bring it to you, so that I can speak for them in Parliament. So when I speak because of the facts that are given to me. In North Windward, from my angle, I host sporting activities every quarter. So we have netball, we have football, we have cricket, we have road relays, and we have many other community activities that I organize so that our young people can become involved. It always amazes me how passionate the young people of North Windward are when it comes to sports. And that is not yesterday. But to date, there has been no proper sporting facilities to play a game in North Windward. Young people play, but they're only playing because they love the sport. What is offered to them is nothing. So what I want to do is to ensure that North Windward under the New Democratic Party's government is known for one of the best sporting facilities in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The ULP administration has created a handout-dependent society. This is what has become the norm in our once blessed land. But Vincentians are not prepared to accept this any longer. Poverty and unemployment are the hallmarks of this administration. We cannot accept as normal this high rate of poverty in our country. My dear friends, brothers and sisters, we refuse to accept as normal the high level of unemployment and underemployment. And when I speak of unemployment and underemployment, do you know that there are many young people in St. Vincent and the Grenadines who have graduated from secondary schools that only work 2 times a year? And you know what that work is? The road work, yes. That is what they're involved in. That is ridiculous and it is unacceptable. The New Democratic Party will change this, as my dear sister spoke of what we plan to do with our young people from the Youth Guarantee Plan that our leader has pledged to do when he gets into office. We refuse to accept as normal the high crime rate and the high rape rate in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We refuse to accept as normal the neglect of our agriculture and fisheries sector. It is all of these negative things and more why we are calling for change in St. Vincent. The cry for change is loud and clear, and the cry for change resonates all across St. Vincent and the Grenadines. People are fed up with what has been meted out to them as in the name of governance. St. Vincent and the Grenadines can be better. Our people deserve far more than the pittance that are being handed out to them by this corrupt and ineffective government. So this evening, I am appealing to those of you who are still not sure what to do, to join us in this very noble effort to save St. Vincent and the Grenadines from further decline and disaster. I've expressed it on many occasions that I've never regretted the decision to be a part of the New Democratic Party's team led by the Honorable Dr. Friday. Over and over, Dr. Friday continues to demonstrate that he genuinely cares about St. Vincent and the Grenadines. In private and in public, he shows his vision for a better St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Dr. Friday, myself, and Team NDP is ready to answer that call. We have given serious thought to the problems facing St. Vincent and the Grenadines and have spent a considerable amount of time planning to tackle these issues. We have and will continue to present a path to true prosperity, development, and empowerment in our beloved SVG. We have a capable team to effectively manage this change process. Among them, we have a wide range of managerial experience and expertise in economics and financial management, in civil engineering, in law enforcement, in education, in information and communication technology, in business management and marketing, in agriculture, in legal matters, and I can go on and on. This is a team of individuals who are generally concerned about the holistic development and empowerment of the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. A team of perfectly blended skills and competencies to manage St. Vincent and the Grenadines at a time when there is much uncertainty about our country's future. North Windward, as we say tonight, under my representation, will not be known for the highest concentration of poverty. No, we will say bye-bye to that. We will say bye-bye to the tribalism and all those degradatory definitions of us as a people. Now I turn to you, my fellow Vincentians in this diaspora. You play a critical role to the victory of the polls in St. Vincent and the Grenadines at the next general elections. Know this, friends, the barrels, the monies, and so that you remit to your loved ones is what is holding up St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Your response to our needs at home when we text and call or when disaster strikes keep us. Thank you very much for caring in tangible and intangible ways. They don't go unnoticed. At the same time, we recognize that if things are better at home, some of you would rather be there than you are here in North America. If things are better at home, you will be able to save a little more. If things are better at home, you will worry less about the lack of your loved ones, about the lack that your loved ones are facing now. It is why I am encouraging you, and I'm encouraging you to encourage your loved ones to vote for a change, to vote for the NDP at the next general election. Find out if they have already registered. If they're not, offer them the cash to take out their birth certificates to go and get registered. Reach out to Dr. Friday or any of the candidates at home and find out how you can help to support the programs that we are executing. You will notice that the ULP is already adopting an election posture. We see the opening of facilities that have long been finished, but it's the modus operandi of the ULP to delay all things until elections are close. They think that their saving grace is Sandals or Holiday Inn, just like they did with the airports. It won't work this time. Yes. Our people see that the care is only shown during elections. We must never forget that before Sandals, we had David Ames. and all the scandals that went with it. All the major projects that you see and you hear about, millions being spent, is not reflected in the people's pockets. There is still no real growth in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. People are still suffering. People are still in need of their homes being repaired. Basic necessities. These things, the millions that you hear about, the big buildings that you see, they can't bring us the change that we need. Our people need to be empowered. Brothers and sisters, our approach in the NDP to governance would be different. Under Dr. Friday's leadership, we are committed to delivering to all Vincentians. We are committed to being judged by our actions, not just words. We will put an end to the policy of divisiveness and tribalism that is seemingly advocated and promoted by this current regime and its leadership. Instead, we are going to rally around our visionary leader in promoting unity among our people. My friends, the eyes of your understanding should be enlightened from this message. As far as the NDP is concerned, we are one nation, one people, one St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Holy Ghost power moving just like a magnet. Moving here, moving there, just like the day of Pentecost. The Holy Ghost power moving just like a magnet. The Holy
Brothers
Ghost
and sisters, put your hands again and give Siobhan a round of applause. When I tell you that this team is balanced, you could see what I'm talking about. It ain't just men, folks. Although we have some strong, dynamic men, but the women are just as strong or even stronger, as has been demonstrated here this evening. I would like to make I was just informed that we have a sign-in sheet because people like to say, when we say we had a crowd, they like to dumb it down. So I hear only 60 people have signed so far. So would you guys be kind enough to sign the sign-in sheet? Having said that, I also want to inform you that there would be some stuff, or there is some stuff on sale. I'm sure a lot of you have not heard or seen blackfish in donkey years. I hear we have blackfish for sale. We also have saltfish for sale. You can get blackfish for $15. You can get saltfish for $10. And we also have slice. These are some of the Vincentian goodies that we bring to you. They are at the back, and kindly partake of them, because this venture is a way of raising funds. You know, because of lasso fray, the breadfruit tree actually was set back. So you have to check with me later to get the breadfruit. But for sure we'd bring breadfruit, and we'd even bring tree cake. To show on a more serious note how vital and serious we are, we ask that you help us to spread this message. You would notice that there is a camera in front of me, and we have different radio stations which is carrying this meeting. because it is important that our people understand the dire strait, the urgent need for change in our country. And that change and the urgency cannot come soon enough. So we have Success Radio, Canadian base. We have Vicinity Radio, which is, I'm not sure, I can't read this, base. But we have Bay Hill News, which is also, and we have Concordia, which is headed by our own Vin. And we have Nice Radio. I didn't even know Nice Radio was say. It's a good thing I make out that plug. And it wasn't, you would know it wasn't just an empty plug. But weekly, we listen to people like Margaret, Bert, Francois. We do owe these people a depth of gratitude. And again, I want to say how happy we are that they are there and they are keeping us informed. Now, the next speaker is a person who's a no-nonsense man. He put fears into the government, so much so that physically they tried to actually get rid of him. Most of you know the old courthouse in St. Vincent, the one in Kingston. You know how high those stairs are. Brother Cummins was treated like a common criminal, a man who is elected by the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, because they didn't like what he had to say, because when he have anything to say, he say it without fear. Or as we would say in St. Vincent, he ain't putting no water in his mouth. He's giving it to you straight. And so with that being said, it is my great pleasure, my delight in calling to the microphone Brother Daniel Cummins to address you.
Thank you, Chairman Nikki. My goodness, what a crowd of people. President Godwin Friday, our majority leader of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and opposition leader in the parliament, colleague Senator Siobhan, PRO, officials of the Canadian Vinci Association. This is for me a singular honor and pleasure to speak from the heart to you today. I wish I could have an hour and a half, but I know my leader has a lot to say. But today, I want to provoke you. I want to challenge you. And I want to give you the truth about St. Vincent and the Grenadines. As a politician elected since 2010, from 2005 to now, I have been walking to every single house in West Kingstown on myriad of occasions, listening to people, speaking with people, and gathering vital information. And so I bring a unique perspective to what really is happening in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Our people are very proud. No matter how poor we are very proud. And we only speak the suffering to a few people. There is enormous suffering in our country. Families have to play Russian roulette with which one of the children will go to school this week, because they don't have the resources to send them all at the same time.
I know, I feel it, and it is very common. As a representative of people, I spend the last penny in my pocket to help those parents. And know ye this, under this wicked rogue regime, I draw not a cent from the coffers of the state to assist my constituents. When the New Democratic Party was in government, those who now are in government were in opposition, and every elected member was given an allocation they could use for their constituents. What passes for Prime Minister now, cut that out. Today, I want to put my brief presentation into this context with a quotation from Archbishop Desmond Tutu. It says, "Hope is being able to see that there is light despite all the darkness." St. Vincent is in a very dark place. The New Democratic Party offers the light. I challenge myself today to speak to you on a topic that I don't always speak on, because really I have to be in a good spirit to talk about the healthcare system in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And I thank Almighty God for the fantastic weather I've been having since I'm here, and for my hosts. So I feel strong enough to talk about healthcare in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. My friends, I'm a civil engineer by profession, and by experience I have been a utility manager for 17 years. But I consider my greatest talent in working with people. And I've discovered that no matter how trained you are, if you do not appreciate the value of the people you have, whether it be in your organization, in your country, you can achieve very little. Everything, positive change, is driven by a love of people. Our healthcare in St. Vincent and the Grenadines suffers primarily from a lack of care. The people who are in charge tell you that healthcare is low down on the totem pole. How can you have confidence in a healthcare system if you are in a crowd of people and you get a scratch on your head and you have to fly out to Barbados to sound your head? What does that say to the rest of the population? What does it say? By the way, no name, no warrant, eh? I want to tell you that the way our hospitals are managed and our district facilities is appalling. The civil service is horrendous. It's archaic, and it's generally headed by political clowns. Generally. There are lots of very competent people in the public service, but they are not allowed to function as professionals. And that has taken us under the floor. The Milton Cater Memorial Hospital suffers from lethargy. Imagine you have a very expensive piece of equipment that's suddenly gone bad. The technician comes in and says he needs a part. You have to go and apply to the permanent secretary, who has to send you to some set of other people, go around the mulberry bush. And even if you're lucky to get the thing flying by FedEx or one of these, getting it paid for so it can be delivered at customs would take 2 weeks. By that time, the patient is dead. I know what I'm talking about, you know. The fellow we have down there explained that very thing happening with a piece of equipment in Georgetown. But yet he doesn't see that he is the cause of that. When they came into office, I was still in the CWSA, and they invited me to be looking at a team, working with a team to advise them on a management, on a structure for managing healthcare in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And the group of us, Larry Luncan, God rest his soul, was the chairman. And we met with doctors, nurses, professionals for 6 months. And after the next 6 months, presented a report to the government. It is still on their shelves. They have done nothing. Because we said to them, in creating a statutory body, you have to be very careful. If you take the hospitals out of the current arrangements and put it into a statutory body, and put somebody like Fitz-Jones as chairman or CEO of the statutory body, it is 100 times worse than it is now in the public service. In other words, because they wanted to model it after the CWSA. And I said, it's not just the legal thing, it's the kind of people you put and the framework you give them, the way they are monitored and held accountable. And they didn't want to go that way because they had already earmarked some of the cronies they want to put in key position. And that is why they refused to accept the recommendations that were there. But my friends, the New Democratic Party, cognizant of the importance of healthcare, will remove the management of healthcare from the public service system and create a statutory body given the breadth and the scope to manage as a private sector company with the controls necessary, not dissimilar to the CWSA. I have taken a very keen interest in healthcare, and everywhere I go, I sit with administrators and professionals and examine the modus operandi in their locale. And there's a lot you can learn. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to. We are going to make sure that in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, we put a management system in place that would make us proud. And I want you to understand this thing when we talk. We will never be able to create a healthcare system like obtains in the UK or the United States of America. I'm not here to fool you. We are limited. But for God's sake, there is so much more we can do with what we have. If you care about people, if you see the experience of elderly people at Milton Cater Memorial Hospital, you will cry. You carry your loved ones there. They just come off the operating theater in the morning. You go to visit them in the afternoon. And a nurse comes to you and says, you have to get them out of here. We need the bed. It happens regularly. Your loved one goes to the hospital and they die, as is a normal case. And you go to get your documents. Sorry, they owe $3,000 until you pay this, you can't get no death certificate. In your suffering, as blunt as that, that is what St. Vincent and the Grenadines is today. I kid you not. I have seen it for myself. I have received complaints numerous. So when I talk to you about a management system for healthcare, I know what the issues are. People just don't care. They don't. Yeah, some years ago, I was visiting the hospital. I noticed they take it down now. And sometimes people don't understand. It's the little things that make all the difference, you know. Imagine you sitting in a hospital bed at Milton Cato on a big board on the wall. How many patients came in? How many did operation? How many died? Big and bold. Why is that for your attention? They're trying to tell you get out of here quick before you're one of them that die. You want to tell me serious people in charge of an institution will allow that in a place where you're sick? My friends, I don't want to get carried away. But listen, we have to build the plant, the hospital, proper hospital. Milton Cato, we have so many reports that says it's in the wrong place, it's derelict. We have to build a hospital, a proper hospital. But what is being proposed now, clearly they don't intend to build one. Because they're talking about putting another structure in Annisville and continuing with Milton Cato, where you have administrative costs there and administrative costs there. It is just unintelligible. The persons providing the funding warn them against that approach, and yet they will not listen because these things are just politics for them. It's not about people. That has to go. We will build a plant. We will train our people. We will create an environment where nurses can get promotion based on performance, not which party you support. That the right people will be put in charge so that you get the best results, and where people will be held accountable. How many instances over the last 10, 15 years have your loved ones died at Milton Cato, and you just can't get an explanation? When you raise it in Parliament, they tell you about privacy. Oh, and we will do a study and we will report. Not once have they come back with a single one. My friends, if you don't examine where things go wrong, how can you stop the problems? How can you improve the service? When you call for an inquiry into an incident, it's not for scapegoating. It's not to say that this doctor is incompetent or that doctor didn't do something. It is to examine where the system failed and what you need to do to make sure it doesn't happen again. That is what it is about. But no, you can't make the comrade look bad. Help the comrade. The people matter. We will change that. We will change that. When we say make people accountable, it's not about identifying people to be punished for the sake of punishment. No. If you don't examine where you're going wrong, you can't correct it. Continuous improvement must be the watchword. But to make healthcare work, you have to look at the funding. And these jokers are not for real. They're not listening. Just before the NDP lost office, the Caribbean Development Bank came to St. Vincent and did a study on the National Health Insurance Service so that every Vincentian could be guaranteed a minimum level of care at the hospitals. If you're working, you made a contribution. If you're not working, the government made a contribution on your behalf. These clowns never touched it. Today, that scheme would have been so much operable, functioning, and helping out Vincentians. An NDP administration will introduce the National Health Insurance Service to St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We know there are challenges. We know that. The economy is so bad. Unemployment is so high. There are not enough people working, so there won't be a lot of contributions. Dr. Friday will tell you, we have to fix the economy. And we have the mechanisms, various of them for that. We will get our economy going again. We did it in 1984 when they labor wrecked the country. We will do it again. So we have to get our people back to work to get these things going. But here's where you come in, my friends. Here's where you come in. I tell you, I like people, I study people. I know, and I'm speaking not just here to you, but those of the diaspora, wherever you are. So many thousands of Vincentians have left our shores. And every time we come out here, we reach the pinnacle. We excel. We work damn hard. And we do well. Many of us excel in medicine, in whatever field we do, we are the best. But you always have a yearning to go back home. I know it. I hear it regularly. It's only natural. Because wherever I travel, the rock pulls me. Were it not for that, my friends, let me be brutally frank. Were it not for that love of country, I could have made a few $1 million working as a professional when I finished the CWSA project. I could have gotten employment anywhere I wanted, but I chose to work for my beloved SVG. And I'm saying all of this. I'm coming to the point of challenging you. You have a yearning to go back home. But based on what I have just told you, and what others have said to you, and what you have experienced when you go there, you're not going to chance it going in Milton Cater Memorial. You're not going to chance it. May I tell you frank and blunt, no way, Jose. And that is why I want to tell you what I'm asking of you. We will deal with the plant. We will deal with the management system. We will recruit, train, and develop the right kind of staff and make them accountable. Financing. The National Health Insurance Service will not work just with the people on St. Vincent and the Grenadines and the low numbers of contributors. This will be very difficult. You in the diaspora who love the rock like me, who want to be able to come home, who want to feel comfortable when your loved one go to one of the district clinics or the hospital. Here's where I want you to consider becoming a member of that National Health Insurance Service so that you can make your contribution to help make it work. And I want to tell you that the way we envisage it, it's not that you'll be sending money into a sinkhole that goes into the treasury that anybody could dip their hand like the current regime is doing. There will be a proper board of management, and you will have opportunity to have your representatives on that board to see that that fund is managed efficiently and effectively. There will be measures in place to make sure that you are reported to on a regular basis on how it is going. I challenge you to think about this. It is not a straightforward matter. There are some of you, obviously, who will be able to say, look, I don't want to become a member of it, but I will make some kind of a contribution to the fund to make it work. This is the kind of initiative I'm throwing out to you from the bottom of my heart. As Vincentians, wherever we are, we want to build a healthcare system, we want to sustain it, and we want to be proud Vinci. So when we come back home, whether for 2 weeks or for the rest of our lives, we know that we have a system in place. That if you take suddenly sick, we may not be able to do the technical, serious work that will be done here or in wherever you are. But we will have the ability to first stabilize you, the ability to prepare you for travel, and to fly you out quickly where you can get the full service of medical care. That, my dear friends, will give you a level of comfort in knowing that it's not just a scratch on the head you could be flown out for, but for genuine cases. I challenge you to think about this, and there will be many more dialogues on this. A new Democratic Party government will, the problem we have at home is these people have been so comfortable in their cushy jobs. They cannot think outside of the box. In the world we live today, you cannot do business as usual. You cannot. You have to have a vision. But I want to remind you that I watch Dr. Friday on a regular basis and my team. You don't get a vision if you don't have a passion for people. You don't. Those clowns are preoccupied with themselves so much that the rest of the people don't exist. A new Democratic Party offers hope. God bless you. Thank you very much.
You see, when I say earlier that if Barry Kuja come out the sea and tell you shark have toothache, you cannot doubt that. Here is the proof. Here is people on the ground. We have evidence, we have knowledge, but the people here today who have bring you the message, as they claim, without sugarcoating it, you just got it plain and straight. However, we don't want to be just talking down to you. We want to give you the opportunity where you can talk to members of our team. So we are going to take a break. What I suggest, those of you who would like the party to keep in touch with you, or who can offer whatever it is in whatever form it is, make sure that you give a member of the team your email address so that you will be kept in touch. With that, brothers and sisters, we will take a break so that you can actually interact with members of the team.
And I was instructed by the party chairman to remind everybody that even though you're in the diaspora, you can go onto the website www.ndpsvg.com and .org and apply to become a member of the New Democratic Party. Once you submit, you can fill out the form, submit it, and we will be in touch. You can be here and still be a member of the party whilst you're abroad. So just go to the party's website and you'll be able to fill and submit the application form.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, while you take a break, don't forget the saltfish and blackfish back there. Also, there'll be someone coming down with a raffle. We have, I think, 3 items on a raffle. So someone will be coming around and asking you to, oh, Velty is her name. Should be asking you. The price is 2 tickets for $10 and 6 for 10. So buy your ticket. There are three prizes to be won. 3 prizes. So get your tickets. 2 tickets for $10 and 6 for 20. And don't forget, you can see myself, Kenny, Arlene, Petra, Carnetta, David. If you want to be a member of the Vinci New Dems of Toronto, you can see any of us and ask how we do it, and we'll go from there. We have entertainer coming up soon, a performer by the name of Steak. He will be giving us some rendition while we break. Okay, before we start.
Where there's a will, there's a way. Only way that may seem it right unto you dismay. We were born to be free, but survive such rough history. Yet life still goes on in the battlefield. Our existence is a misery. Coming to from the start, they learn how to be free. Coming to from the start, they know we were strong.
If you hear me, there's a donation box in the back on the table. You got a donation envelope. You can make a donation and put in a box. There's a box on the table on my right, way back down. So you can put your donation in that box. Thank you.
Go together, triumphing on its way, follow after. Signs reveal it's a shortened span, and time wasting is a crime. We must move in retaliation this time, and clean up racial oppression this time. Make way for the upcoming generation this time. Where there's a star, there's a light. We got to shine, it's we who have to make things go right. Don't sit and wait on a hand. Sometimes that hand just push you down. To achieve your goals, you must go for it. Every monarch wears his own crown. Conquer every obstacle you encounter. Many will be waiting to see you fall. But if you opt to find something new, you must follow every clue. So at the end of the road, when you find your treasure, prosperity true and true. We got to fight on and take full command of our future plan. Who can crack on, we back won't take we out this situation. Fight on, every family. Take it seriously. It is there we create and devise the path of our journey. Determination and vision goes together. All your aspirations follow after. Signs reveal it's a shortened span, and time wasting is a crime. We must make the right turn this time and implement what we learn this time. So every man and woman can earn this time. Where there's no vision, the people perish. Where there is no love, we're left in despair. There is war against your own brother. From trample your sister down in your quest to make living easier. To no other you give consideration. If we have to advance, we must come together. If we're going to succeed, we have to unite. Records can be broken, ropes of gold could be won, but the strains of life will intensify unless we get up and fight. We got to fight on, take a rapid flight, work hard day and night. Is the one way to go if you hope for a future bright. Fight on honestly. Fight for you and me, for the sick and the weak and the helpless, they are the needy.
May I have your attention, please? There's a BMW CCDZ 044. The owner of the BMW CCDZ 044. Your lights are on and your engines are running. And while I have your attention, I just want to big up the radio stations that is carrying this meeting live. We want to big up Success Radio. You can read Success at success.ca. We have Bay Hill Radio News.net, Fun City Radio, Nice Radio, popular radio station out of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Concordia Radio, right here in Toronto. The proprietor of Success Radio is the one right here on my left. We call her Lady Rose. And Concordia Radio is operated by Vin Abbott. I think Bay Hill Radio in St. Vincent is operated by Monty Cupid. So you can tune into any of these stations if you want anything, news or music, talk shows, and what's not, when you have free time. Don't forget the owner of the BMW. Owner of BMW, CCDZ 044. Your lights are on and engine running. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, let's take our seats so that we can get going. We have until 8 o'clock. Not much time left.
We got to fight on and take full command of our future plan. Who can crack on, we back won't take we out this situation. Fight on, every family. Take it seriously. It is there we create and devise the path of our journey. Determination and vision goes together. All your aspirations follow after. Science reveal it's a shortened span and time wasting is a crime. We must make the right turn this time and implement what we learn this time. So every man and woman can earn this time.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's take our seats, please. Let's take our seats. Get started. Thank you. Thank you. Don't forget to put your donation in the donation box back there on the table. Buy the raffle. All this is to support this evening cause and other.
If we have to advance, we must come together. If we're going to succeed, we have to unite. Records can be broken, ropes of gold could be won, but these strains of life will intensify unless we get the band right. We got to fight on, take a rapid flight. Work hard day and night is the one way to go if you hope for a future bright. Fight on honestly. Fight for you and me, for the sick and the weak and the helpless, they are the need. Fight on, get up, stop complain. It's a universal pain, from sunrise to sunset every day.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for taking your seat. Let's get started back. Thank you, thank you. Thank you. I hope the owner of the BMW went and checked his car. The owner of the BMW. Oh boy. Okay. Yeah. Could everybody please take a seat? Take a seat, please. I hope by now the owner of the BMW CCDX Z044 has attended to that car. Your lights are on and your engine is running. Well, I'm here again. Let me pay homage to our sponsors, radio that carrying this live, Success Radio, .ca, The Hill News.net, Fun City Radio. I think this is out of New York. Nice Radio, you know that's our radio station, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Concordia Radio, right here in Toronto. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for taking your seat. Thank you for buying the goodies, but we need to get started. Let's go, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, God. What Rose want? What Rose want? Buy some focus. I don't know.
Don't sit and wait on a hand. Sometimes that hand must push you down. To achieve your goals, you must go for it every morning. Where's his own crown? Conquer every obstacle you encounter. Many will be waiting to see you fall. But if you have to find something new, you must follow every clue. So at the end of the road, when you find your treasure, prosperity you and we got to fight on and take full command of our future plan. Who can crack on, we back won't take we out this situation.
You know what? I think you better. He can perform. I just let him perform and finish. Let him perform.
We create and devise the path of our journey. Determination and vision goes together. Oh, your aspiration
I'm gonna put on the performance. I'm gonna put on the performance. I can't remember hearing it before, but that's what they told me. The guy with his name is Spade.
So every man and woman can earn this time.
Yeah. He just came here a while ago. Colin Spade. Oh, it queuing up. Who?
Where there's no vision, the people perish. Where there is no love, we're left in despair. There is war against your own brother. Trample your sister down in your quest to make living easier. To no other you give consideration. If we have to advance, we must come together. If we're going to succeed, we have to unite. Ring that can be broken, ropes of gold could be won. But these flames of life will intensify unless we get up and fight. We got to fight on, take a rapid flight. Work hard day and night is the one way to go if you hope for a future bright. Fight on honestly. Fight for you and me, for the sick and the weak and the helpless, they are the need. Fight on, get up, stop complain. It's a universal plan. From sunrise to sunset, every day is a living strain. Fight on, every family. Take it seriously. It is there we create and devise the path of our journey. Laziness and crime go together. Rougher times in the jail follow after. Signs reveal it's a shortened span and time wasting is a crime. Our talents we must employ this time. Grudge and selfishness we destroy this time. A future for every boy or girl this time. Faith is to the heart, like grapes on a ripe grapevine. To all those who perceive the
But you have to
struggle,
talk to somebody.
freedom and liberty. Then you see it clearly now. Walter Sisulu, Oliver Tambo, Paul Vogel, Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X, Nelson Mandela. The struggle continues.
Okay, guys, we have the media running, and of course we have to pay for that. So the longer we stay here, we have to pay. Okay, I've been getting another complaint that phones are disturbing your neighbors. So if you have your phone, please put it on silence, and let's get the show back on the road. Thank you.
No, I'm just asking you. I just want to know what you guys want. I don't want to push my own agenda. Can you kindly take a seat, please? We're about yeah. What do you mean first?
You're listening to successradio.ca, bayhillnews.net, funcityradio.com.
We still have a lot of people in the back who is not seated. Can you kindly take your seat? Still waiting for you to be seated. Brother Alfred, it's good to see you. Brothers, the moment that you have been waiting for, to hear from the next Prime Minister designated, would be here to address you. I speak of no other person than Dr. Friday. He's a very humble person, a very caring person, and is the kind of person that we need to actually take St. Vincent out of the present doldrum. It is with humiliation that I call to the microphone Dr. Friday to address you, the nationals of St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Good. Good evening, everyone. Somebody tell me I should speak louder. Somebody say, good evening, everyone. Remember the movie? Good morning, right? Good evening, Toronto. All right. As my colleagues have done before, I want to thank so much the individuals who worked tirelessly to host this event here this evening and to make us feel so welcome here in Toronto. Last night, we had a function at Jackson's Restaurant, which was a sip and chat. And I can tell you there was a lot of sipping, but there was also a lot of chat. And again, I want to thank everyone who came out there and for those persons who helped to organize it. Last weekend, we were in Toronto. Toronto is my second home, you know that, right? Last weekend, we were in Brooklyn, and we had a fantastic reception. I've done this several times. I think that might have been my third or fourth town hall, and it was wonderful. The people came out in their numbers, and they sat for several hours, rapt attention, listening to the presentations of my colleagues who did a splendid job in representing not just the points of view of the New Democratic Party, but representing young people, representing the constituencies, generally representing St. Vincent and the Grenadines and bringing hope to the people. So the reception that we received there, could you move the mic back a bit? Thank you. The reception that we received there, of course, I expected it to be matched here because, as you well know, I lived here for a time. I worked here in Toronto for some time. And it's always a very special place for me when I come back here, and I know for you too. You have helped to build this city. You have helped to make it a better place. You have helped to make Canada a better place. But I know, as much as you love this beautiful country and this city, that your heart is very close, or St. Vincent and the Grenadines is never far from your heart. It's always remain close to your hearts, and we're always in your thoughts. Your childhood memories are there, as are mine. Your parents and loved ones are there. The comfort foods that you enjoy, breadfruit and sourfish. I hear people talking about chichi and blackfish and so forth. You learn to prepare them there and you eat them there. Many of the festivals that you cherish and you miss so much when you're here. Carnival, 9 mornings, Easter Regatta, Easterval down in Union Island. They are all there. Thank you for keeping us close to your heart. We appreciate it. And that is why we are here this evening. We have also come, as my colleagues have told you, to engage in meaningful conversation with you about how things are in Vincy and how we can make them better. So, this is not intended to be a one-way conversation. There should be some time afterwards that we have an opportunity as well to listen. We have come to listen as well. You heard from my colleagues of all the trials and tribulations we have in our country. But you have also heard about hope. Siobhan told you that as somebody who is interested in sports, and I said this in New York, she beat me in cricket the other day, that she wants to see the young people in that community, whether it's in Oya or in Fancy, in Sandy Bay, and various other parts of our constituency, have an opportunity to enjoy those basic things. I walk around there, I go there, I see playing fields that were there, started since the time of Monty Roberts, and then nothing has been done since then to the hard court or the Oya playing field. So that is hope for the young people. But my friends, before we get to that, I didn't come just here with a litany of complaints or things that bring you down. The challenges that we have are challenges that we can confront and overcome. And that is the principal message that we have. Last night, as you heard from Lavon, tragically, there was another shooting. Somebody else, a young person, was shot and killed. The life of another young man was cut short in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and another family grieves. Our condolences to them. I will repeat what my colleague Lavon King said. Gun violence is out of control in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We have become the murder capital in the Eastern Caribbean. You all know of the mass shooting in Kingstown where 5 persons were gunned down. Who would ever have thought that in our blessed St. Vincent and the Grenadines this would be a reality? Where will it end? As Siobhan said, must we settle for this? Is that our new normal? Must the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines resign themselves to constantly feeling insecure and frightened in their own homes, walking to work, in the places that they play. That can't be what we have come to. We must not accept this as our fate, but see it for what it is. It's a social problem that has a cause and it has remedies. But it can only be addressed effectively if there is a plan and the will to get it done. Some of our people, they throw their hands up. There's a Friday, what are you going to do? Yeah, crime everywhere. We are not saying that we are going to end crime. We're not that naive. The point that I'm making is that in a free, democratic society, there are tolerable limits that we accept as a society living amongst one another. And we go on with our lives. Where we have arrived now, we do not go on with our lives. Too many people put their lives on hold. They don't go out and enjoy the things they used to. The businesses that used to profit from those activities don't get those clients anymore because people feel unsafe. That is true. I have been 22, 23 years since I returned to St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And it has come a time now where even I sometimes do not feel safe. The problem we have with respect to the crime situation in the country, especially the violent crime, we don't make guns in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, but they're getting in. So obviously there needs to be better policing of our borders. The problem we have, though, the biggest problem, is in the mind. That no one in the government seems to accept or admit that this is a crisis in our country. The Prime Minister has a way of saying, if you understand where the problem comes from, it's not a crisis. That's not a definition I share. If you don't understand or you don't accept the fact that homicides and gun killings is a problem, how can we begin to look for solutions? And I started out by saying, I believe this is not something handed down to us. It's not a plague on St. Vincent and the Grenadines. It is a social problem that has cause and it has solutions. But we have to have the mind, the will, and the plan to get there. We now have a new commissioner of police. I had called for that some time ago in a press conference I gave in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So now we have a new commissioner of police. Let us hope that he takes a more effective approach and can do better to fix this problem. My colleagues told you about some of the struggles that our people are having making ends meet. That is not a joke. That is not something that we make up. Last weekend, at the town hall meeting in Brooklyn, I told a large audience there that St. Vincent and the Grenadines is going in the wrong direction. Despite all of its promises, despite our abundant potential. Despite the hope that circumstances seem every day to conspire to snuff out in our people, but so far have failed. Despite all of that potential, our country is moving or is not moving forward like the other countries in the region, the countries neighboring us. We are simply going in the wrong direction. And I will present some evidence to back that up. That is my central message to you here today. And if after what my colleagues have said, what your friends and relatives have told you, and what you see when you go back home, you accept that indictment, then the next obvious question is, what do we do about it? So it is neither an exaggeration nor cheap politics on my part to say that we're going in the wrong direction. I don't have time for cheap politics. And for those, the people in here in this audience who know me since I was in primary school, so they know that's not the person that I am. I am also not here to seek to confuse or to misrepresent or inflame the situation. I'm genuinely seeking to communicate what I see and perceive as the situation in my country. When you look around St. Vincent and the Grenadines, you see new buildings and projects. Some of them are very impressive looking. Yet, all around us, more people are struggling to make ends meet. I see them every day in my office. There was a time when people come and they ask for exercise books or for textbooks that we used to collect at the NDP headquarters and pass them on to other people. Now, it's uniform, it's shoes, but most distressing because it's a need we can't meet. It's, as Daniel said earlier, it's transportation money to get the children to school and the little food money for them to eat while they are at school. And they will tell you they have 2 or 3 children, they send one. I'm not saying this is everybody, but I've been at this for some time. And I saw it this year more than any other. They will send 1, they send 2. Or people will come to my office and they say, I say, where is the child? They haven't gone to school for the week. Why not? Because they don't have a shoe. Or they don't have the money for the bus fare. And I say, go to social welfare, find out what they will do to assist. Some people don't want to go because they make them feel as though they are at the bottom of the heap. But that's the reality. That is the grim reality in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. More people are poor and getting poorer. Some, they have to cut back on essentials. When you have to cut food and medicine, then things are critical. Now I said I will back it up. Remember, in the government's own poverty study that was done for the period between 2008 and 2018, this is a study that was done in previous administration. It's paid for externally. It's important because it gives a sense as to where the country is going, and it's done every 10 years. In that study that was done for the period 2008 to 2018, it showed, this is the government study, that poverty increased overall from 30% of the population to 36%. What's worse, indigent poverty, that is the poorest of the poor. And it's defined in the study as persons who cannot meet their daily food needs. I think they make something like $265 a month or something like that. EC. So indigent poor, the ones who cannot meet their basic needs, increased during this period from 2.9% to 11%. This is not me saying so, this is a government study saying so. What is more, is there some communities where it has increased dramatically. Barely, for example. Poverty went from 28.5%, according to the government study, to 65.2%. I was going to bring some copies here, but I forget, because I have the actual document. In my own constituency, which people thought was doing very well in the last study that was done, up from 1998 to 2008. No, that's here, yes. In the Northern Grenadines, poverty increased from 12% to 25.8% during that period. It doubled, more than doubled. What's more, women are more likely to be poor than men, 41% of the population as opposed to 31. Children, more children are going into poverty. So instead of getting better, things have been getting worse. But of course, not everybody is catching hell. Some who have ULP connections, as a friend of mine used to say, they're grazing well. As a wise woman from North Windward, Chevron's constituency, one day when we were doing a walkabout, I was telling her projects that the government were doing and so forth. And she said to me, she said, Dr. Friday, that ain't gonna make a difference because them who eat already, they're eating again. What this means is that there is a disparity in terms of the distribution of whatever growth there is in the economy. And you know what? The government's own study itself indicated not only that there's greater poverty, but that there is greater inequality in the country. That is, those who have are getting more and those who don't have are getting less. Ask them to give you a copy of this study. You won't find it because they try to bury it. Somebody with a conscience and some courage leaked it to us. That's how we got to know about it. Otherwise, it would never become public. And this is, you know what the objectives of that study were? How important it was? It said is to estimate, this is I'm quoting from it, indigence, poverty lines, and other measures of deprivation. To assess the current conditions affecting the welfare of residents. And to provide decision makers with information on different indicators of the population's living conditions so that they can understand them and presumably to take action. Now that is an important study, that's an important document. So why would they seek to hide it and to bury it? And in fact, we have asked when the official publication would be done, and the answer effectively, after a lot of obfuscation and dancing around the bush. It comes down to the fact that it will never be made public officially, and that what we got is all that the public will get. But somebody should ask. And what that tells me is that the government in that instance, they decided to put politics above the welfare of our people. So what is the situation today? There is higher unemployment now in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, believe it or not, than there was in 2001. This is the finding of the IMF report. More people are unemployed. A greater percentage of the workforce is unemployed than was back then. So you say, well, how come you have all these projects and still there's so much unemployment? Young people, as my colleague Lavon said, fare worst, 41%, and I'll say more about that a little later. 41% of the young people in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Think about that. 41%. That's over 4 out of 10. Can't find work. Many are forced to leave and to look for opportunities, not even here in Canada or the United States, but in Antigua and St. Kitts. Other parts of the Caribbean, of the Eastern Caribbean, where they see that the pasture is greener. For those who have jobs, low and stagnant wages offer little hope that they can build a future to improve the quality of their lives. So you find that there are even persons with university degrees that they're employed and they're dissatisfied because they're not being remunerated properly and they can't really get ahead. And they're looking for ways to get out. Go to Antigua, to go to St. Kitts, as I say, somewhere else. Many lose hope, and too many of them turn to crime. Despite promises in the last election, the ULP government has failed to deliver any real progress on jobs, better wages, and on controlling crime. And currently, they have not shown any credible ideas or plans as to how to tackle these problems, especially the problem of crime. So it should be clear to all but the most fanatical supporters of the government that what I have said is a reality, that our country is headed in the wrong direction. Many of you have heard about the problems with the National Insurance Service. And I'll say this just briefly because I'm not going to delve into it here tonight. But the Chief Executive Officer said that the Executive Director that the NIS would run out of money by 2034. By that time, it would not be able to pay its benefits. That's not long from now, if things continue as they are. In its last, this is what they have been saying for some time now. Every 3 years, you have to do a study, the actuarial review of the NIS, every 3 years by law, and that is supposed to be presented to Parliament. We have never seen them. By law, it's supposed to be presented to Parliament. They have never been presented except the most recent one now, and that's because we made noise. But the point that I want to make is this. I said about the poverty study, this is an important document. It's supposed to guide policymakers. It was buried. In the reports, the actuarial reports, they outline certain recommendations that should be done during the review period. This is a 3-year period. In the most recent report now that we received for the period, I think 2019 to 2022, or 2020 to 2023, 22. What they have said is that the recommendations that were made in the previous report were not implemented. What is more, we had an election in 2020, and the government, having had that report, which we did not see, the public did not see, because even though it's supposed to be made public by law, it was not. It was concealed, and that could not be by accident. It had to be a deliberate act. In their manifesto, don't take my word for it, check it, I think it was page 63 or something. They said that in the current review that was coming up by the actuaries, that there was likely going to be findings that will suggest that benefits and pensions would improve and increase. This is after, the previous studies had said that the fund was in trouble, and if actions were not taken, that it would go bankrupt. But again, in that instance, they put politics ahead of policy and ahead of the welfare of the people. So now everybody is scrambling that they need to do something to fix the NIS. Well, I want it fixed too, because I believe that the NIS is essential, it must exist. So from the New Democratic Party, we have three fundamental positions that we've adopted thus far. We have plans as to how, suggestions as to how we want to approach it. But one is that the NIS must exist, and we will ensure that it does. Secondly, that the problem, the responsibility, really rests at the feet of the government because they kicked the can down the road for too long and didn't fix it. And thirdly, it is their responsibility to put forward a plan to the people as to how we are going to address it. Still nothing has been done. Now, I have set out, my friends and I, my party, 5 priorities as to how we are going to revitalize our country. One is that we must create more and better paying jobs, not just more jobs where Chevron said that you have people with, 2 CAPE or 3 CAPE subjects and 11 CSECs, and every so often they just get a road work to cut. I mean, honest work is honest work, but that is not what they went to school for. So we have to create more and better paying jobs. We have to rebuild the economy to provide opportunities for all, and I will tell you a bit more about that just now. We have to make our communities safe from crime. We have to ensure reliable and affordable health care that we can trust. And then, of course, the things that everybody who goes home for any short visit will know, we have to fix our roads and our infrastructure, our bridges, our public buildings. They are all part of the production mechanism necessary to revitalize our country. To achieve these objectives, we have to rebuild the economy. We simply have to produce things better, and we have to be able to sell them. Banana is a fruit. It becomes a commodity when you trade it. If nobody wants to buy it, it don't matter how much you produce and how good they taste. The point that I'm making is that we have to produce better, and we have to be able to sell in order to earn our way. Nobody is going to pay our way for us. You can't beg and borrow your way to development. Those things are necessary to provide the capital to invest in the infrastructure necessary to build an economy. They are not a substitute for an economy. So if the government does well, because it can borrow money and so forth from all over the place and get grants from here and there, and they could dole out at $200 a month, that helps people in poverty, but it is not development. We want to develop the economy of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and that takes all of us. Our plan, we have simplified it somewhat so that hopefully everyone will grasp. Our plan is based on 4 pillars of the economy. Brinziniki talked about agriculture. How you can have a country like St. Vincent and the Grenadines where you say agriculture is a thing of the past. It's not just cultural. It's also an economic reality that agriculture must be an essential pillar of our economy. So that's 1. 2, tourism. We have tremendous potential in tourism. So the 2nd pillar will be to develop tourism. And the 3rd is what we call the blue economy. Well, I didn't make up the term. But what it means, what it includes is anything really that touches on the sea. But for us, we're focusing here on developing our fishing industry, where there is tremendous potential. And our boat building industry at Otley Hall. The Otley Hall Marine, I talk about it all the time, but not enough people pick me up on it. Because it can provide skilled jobs for our young people. Good paying jobs, welding, painting, diving, electrician, carpentry, accountants, security people, whatever. I've been told the facility could employ easily 200 persons directly. And that it will always have work, even if you rely only on our merchant fleet. I know that because I know all the ferries that work from Beckway, the boats that go up to Barbados and Trinidad. You know where they go now, just to clean the bottom of the boats? To Trinidad or to Grenada. So those jobs are being wasted. It costs $10,000 just to fuel up to go down to Trinidad. Imagine the cost that it puts on those operators. And this facility we can revitalize. So that's part of our plan for the blue economy. And then there is the 4th pillar, which is a kind of a grab bag. It's called what I call a new economy, which is to say that we focus on things like the cultural arts. You know, some people call it the orange economy and so forth. You get all the colors of the rainbow after a while. But what we're saying is that we take the cultural arts as well in all its diversity. And we understand that it's not just culture, it's also people's livelihood, business. So we have to create an environment for them to also to make a living from doing it. And government has a role to play in that because in our small country, no individual has the resources to do it themselves. So that is part of what we consider to be the new economy. Information technology, call centers, handicraft industry. So valuable, but so looked down upon. Every single thing that goes into most of the handicraft industries in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, you grow there. It's 100% value added from St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Those are the kinds of things you want to be able to produce. It's like when you're mining iron ore and you ship it abroad. It comes from us. But we don't give it enough attention because we don't see it as something that is part of our economy that can also lead to export. I met a woman one time. I was up again. I always tell my stories from North Windward because I have such a good time when I go up there. There's a lady who I met one time. She was making copia baskets and mats and so forth. Had a lot of them. So I said, "It's a wonderful, I bought some." And she said, "Mr. Friday, somebody in St. Lucia had ordered some from me." And I said, "How much?" And she told me the amount. And I said, "How much it cost?" And she told me, I said, "But that's a lot of money. So you're going to do it?" And she said, "No, she don't really know how to. She don't have the assistance and she don't have this and so forth. You got to get a permit to export it and so on, all of that." So I said, "But those things are things you can get." Now, if we had an environment, an infrastructure where you could simply say, "Listen, I have this offer, I have this skill," and you had some place you could go to and say, "Help me to make it work." That you don't have to go and figure it out yourself. That is something that we will put in place to assist those craft workers. Now, I think they want to take my place here. As well as they did. Now, the thing is this. When we have this plan to revitalize the economy, that takes a little time. And we have to get in government to do it. But we must have a vision. You have to have a plan. You have to have some ideas of what we are capable of, to be able to say that this is something that we can do. It's achievable. It's not pie in the sky. It's not a question of just getting a container every Monday and shipping it up here and saying that is agriculture. What happens the next Monday? You know, whether it's fish or dasheen or plantain or whatever. You have to have a structure in place like you used to do in the old days when you grew banana and you had a system. You know, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. All we have to do is to go back to things that work. But to do so, you have to focus on people. Believe in their capacity to transform their own lives. And as government, provide the tools to help them to do so, whether they vote for you or not. That's what I intend to do. Meanwhile, people are catching hell in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. You hear? Gas prices going up now over $17 a gallon. How are the van operators and the taxi operators going to manage? They are in a bind. Most people now have to juggle their bills, whether it's cable, the water bill, or electricity bill, to prevent them from being cut off. And this is not a joke. This is reality. This is life. And if you hear some of the stories from people as to how they actually survive now, it breaks your heart. Clearly, immediate relief is needed. But the government has done nothing to bring it about. Other countries in the region have put measures in place to assist with the cost of living crisis. What I proposed is this, that we have a plan that you reduce the VAT immediately from 16% to 13%. And that you increase the zero-sum, the zero-rated items for VAT, so that again brings the cost of goods down in the groceries, and immediately there's relief for everybody. When you hear Leacock talk about the day NDP take power, your life improves, that's what he's talking about. You change that, people's lives improve immediately. The government introduced an increase in the customs service charge from 5% to 6%. It doesn't sound like a lot. But that goes on everything that is imported. And then VAT is charged upon that. So it's multiplied. And then it goes on the shelf and the cost goes up. The government's own estimate is that that simple measure earns them between $8 and $10 million annually. That is money that's coming out of people's pockets at this time. And we say we will repeal that and put it back to 5%. We will provide you the concessions for the taxi, the van operators, and the bus operators to help them to cope and to get new vehicles, especially for the upcoming tourist season. And for VINLEC, everybody complain about VINLEC, there has to be a cap on the fuel surcharge. There has to be a limit to which it can go and no more. And that is what we will do, and also push them to improve on their efficiency to keep electricity costs down. That doesn't just help domestic consumers, it helps everybody. It helps the competitiveness of our production in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Now I want to just turn briefly, because I know I've been talking a while, but I want to discuss this matter of our young people. We said that 41% of our young people are unemployed. We talk about the problems and we blame young people for so many things. But the truth is, you know, in our country, think about it. So we have an education revolution. You go to school and you get how many subjects? And then you come out and they say you're on your own. You get a job, that's your business. You don't, that's your business. When you walk around the country, you hear people, grandmothers, they're telling you about their children who have studied so hard and for 2 years, 3 years, they're out of school, they can't make a part-time work. That is a serious problem. And then, of course, too many of our young people are forced to leave and to pick up work elsewhere, and we lose their talents. And they also are separated from their families, and they want to be able to build lives in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I believe that this problem is confronting our young people, that it is an urgent and existential crisis in our country. We always like to talk glibly that the young people are our future. But if our young people are alienated, if they feel that the system is not there for them, you know how painful it is for me when I go to a community and I talk to a young man or young woman, usually the young men, about politics, and it's like a pox on both your houses. All politicians are the same, and I had to confront a young man about this one time in East St. George. He said all politicians are the same. They make promises and they don't fulfill. And I say, have you ever met me before? He said, no. I said, have I ever promised you anything before? He said, no. So I said, oh, you can blame me for somebody else's problem. So he said, you're right. So I said, all right, well, give me the chance to prove to you that it can be different. And I hope that he follows through, because I intend to do my part at Bend. So, for the young people, we have to do something bold and transformative to really signal to young people, listen, this is your country. We are depending on you. The same thing we talk about the NIS. That is a problem. The reason is that you don't have enough young people working and contributing. This is a healthy population. They have a long way to go before they collect a pension. They're the ones you want working, you know? So we have to transform that. So what I have said, and you heard my colleague mention it, is that we make a pledge to the young people that by the end of a first term of an NDP government, you would be either in a job or you have the opportunity to enter into a training program that will lead to a job, or if you have done that already, that will create internships with the public and the private sector to give you an opportunity to get a job, at least on a temporary basis. Right now, the government has a program they call the YES program, which is usually done in the public service. And young people, they're given a job, $650, they can't even pay transportation costs and buy lunch and so forth and that. And very often they go to the offices and they don't have much to do. We say to expand it to the private sector. And government will pay its share and the private sector will pay its half share. And you make it for 1 year at least, somebody has something to put on the resume. And if you're working in a private entity, you know they will make you work. They will give you real experience. You will have something that you know that you could fall back on, or you could present to a potential employer to get a permanent job. That is why I call this, it's a partnership for jobs between the state and the public sector, and intended to benefit the young people, so that when they now are confronted with a situation where they can't find a job, and they're sitting at home, and the grandparents and the parents are getting worried, and they're tempted to do unsavory things in order to make ends meet. Now you have a structure within government who says, it is my responsibility as well to assist you to find your way, not just in school, but also in the world of work. That does not exist now in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and we will create that. So that is why we say that there is hope. In order to get that done, though, to find the jobs and to have the training programs, the necessary training programs. And I talk to people, I don't just talk on the top of my head because I don't know everything. All right? I talk to people in the construction industry, and what they tell me, I say, well, what about you think about the technical institutes and the community college, not community college, technical college, and so forth, and the work, the people that they're producing. And one guy said to me, that is just a tip of the iceberg, what we need to do. It simply does not meet the requirements of the economy. So we have to do better than that. So what I'm proposing to do, and this will signal to young people that we're really serious about their welfare, is to create a technical institute, an institute of excellence that will be on par with the community college. It will be a new institution that essentially focuses on technical and vocational education and produce people who are certificated. They have certificates that will enable them to find jobs not just here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, but elsewhere if they choose to. No, that is something that our education system hasn't done well. And you heard when Lavon said that the Minister of Education, after 23 years in office, he made it's not amazing, what the word I want? A most profound, enlightening admission. Thank you. You see why I bring them with me? That the education system is in the wrong direction. That they have missed out on technical vocational education, and now they have to change direction after 22 years in office. Now my English teacher from grammar school is here. Mrs. Nikki. And we learned a lot of things, and I think prepared me very well for where I am here today. But not everybody walks in these shoes. And so we have to also make sure that it's more diversified, our education system, that benefits people and prepares them to find work. So those are some of the ideas that we have for the future of our country, and I can't wait to be able to implement them. Of course, when we do that, we need you as well. We must have you in the diaspora playing a part. There are as many people outside St. Vincent and the Grenadines who are nationals as there are living in St. Vincent. And many of you are here in this audience today. You have your role to play. I respect that contribution. I was part of this community at one time. I know how hard you work and how much your passion grows when you hear St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Every little sign of adversity, you pack and barrel and stuff and send it home. We thank you for that. But we have to find ways to institutionalize that assistance, because we want you also to use your experience and your capital, your money, and your skills to help us to develop St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Last night at the Sip and Chat, I had a good conversation with a young man who said he wants to do business. In fact, he started a business there. But then you encounter all these difficulties just to set up a business. We have a lawyer in the audience here, Zita Bano, who practices there. I'm a lawyer too, but I don't practice as much as I used to. But to set up a business in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, you can do it in the States here online. Here you have to wait so long and it costs so much. And then there's red tape and there's all kinds of problems when you come to open an account in the bank. You know, sometimes you think you want to give your firstborn before they could open an account. So those are some of the challenges that we have for business people. And we have to get those cleared up so that we can move forward. So, my dear friends, in conclusion, by the way, I know this week coming up, there is going to be a summit of CARICOM and Canada. I think that's a very, very important event because we have a special relationship with Canada going back many, many years. And it's one that I believe we can cultivate, and certainly that I would, as Prime Minister, cultivate to seek to make a greater advantage to us. So my understanding is that all the CARICOM leaders are invited and that all of them are going to attend. Well, all of them are expected to attend. Let me just say this. As important as that summit is, if we do not have representation at the highest level, it is an insult to you at this community. And more than that, it is a dereliction of duty. Because the potential and the importance of that summit are too great to take lightly. So, some of the matter is, we have to create more and better paying jobs in our country. We have to create safer communities, and we have to rebuild our economy so that we can have a better standard of living, and for everybody. We have to help our young people to find their place in St. Vincent and the Grenadines and to make them truly feel that they are the future of our country. Now, the job of nation building is not easy, but it must be done. Somebody has to do it. And we have to do it ourselves. As the man age sings, if we don't do it, who will? We need your help. I hope to lead the next government. So I need your help. I don't doubt your commitment and your desire to be there for your country. And you answer the call, as we have said. Our country cries out for change. Many of you have told me that here and those in New York. They have joined in the call for change. Change that will bring a growing economy, more and better jobs, real jobs, and a better life for our people, not just change for change's sake. I don't need a podium to stand up on. It is change of government so that we can transform the country. It can happen, but it will only happen if we all take the responsibility to make it happen. That means voting for change. And the change, the only vehicle, think about it, the only credible, realistic vehicle for change in the country is the New Democratic Party. So encourage your family and friends to do so. Don't be afraid. When you choose to vote and you exercise that choice, the change will come. It will come. And people must believe that too many people in the last election were afraid and they just stayed away. They say, I'm done with them, but they're afraid to go out to the polls. Well, that approach leads to more of the same, and our country cannot afford that. So, I am doing my part, but I too only have one vote. You do your part. Encourage everyone back home to do their part, and the change will come. That is the only way that we can get St. Vincent and the Grenadines heading in the right direction again. I know we won't fail. Thank you.
You must say, live again. Live again. Live again. Live again. Oh God. Live again. Mother. Live again. Take God. Live again. Wealthy dead. Carlos is getting licked. Orlando is getting licked. Minerva is getting licked. All of them getting licked. Sutherland is getting licked. Camelo is getting licked.
First, I want to thank you for your patience. I hope that you are well informed of the situation in our homeland and that you are ready to help in the struggle to redeem St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I want to thank those people who would be helping to extend the message. The many radio station representatives that is here, we welcome and appreciate your effort. We would now have about 5 questions. We would limit those questions to one individual, one person to one question. Because our time is tight. We have actually run out of time. So we would start now by having the first question. I don't think there's one.
Good afternoon, everyone. Honorable members, Honorable Godwin Friday, my Prime Minister to be, South Leeward in the house. I must say I represent South Leeward, the Honorable Nature Stevenson. But my point this afternoon, I'm going to take it back to last year, September 27. There was a tragic accident in St. Vincent with Dr. Friday, and Nature was on the scene. The fallen 5 it would have been fallen 6. But thanks be to God, there was not a fallen 6, because my son, he was one of them. He was the one who was calling for help, and the person he was calling for help to, that person died in front of him. And there was no help, but something happened. Somebody heard a noise in the van, and he was pinned underneath the seat because he did have an amputated leg already, and that amputated leg broke twice. His hand get broken 2 places. His head cut like this, cut like this. The boy is seeing nightmare up to now. My point is the healthcare in St. Vincent, which and while everybody is saying, is not good. My son, he's live off of me right now. I am his source. Without me, he can't do nothing. I heard the Prime Minister, I will call his name. I heard the Prime Minister go up on TV. Oh,
Sister,
I'm for
can
you.
you put the question, please?
Okay, my point is, I'm saying what he said. He said, I am for you guys, because he will help. My son was lying in the hospital bed. I have to send stuff for my cousin to go and see about my son. He get out of the hospital. They send him out of the hospital without a crutches. And he cannot walk. Where is the help? There was no help. I am the help. I have to send back money there to buy a crutches. You know what they do with the crutches? They take the crutch. The crutch is from him. And they say you have to wait on 2 days before you could get it. I said, listen, just so, because my mother died and we was a support of Honorable Jeremiah Scott, and my mouth is big. I said, listen, I work hard for my money. Go back, tell and give you my money. Give you the crutches. Go back. My cousin say, okay. They take it the next day,
Sister,
2 days.
we realize your
Okay,
situation.
and my point is, where
No, make it a
is...
question, please.
My question is, where, I know everybody's talking, where is the health care in St. Vincent. I know you guys talking it, but I have to refresh memory because I'm speaking about my son because it hurt me daily. It hurt me because he didn't get no help from the help. You don't want to hear me talk because at the end of the day, I lose a brother die at Kingston on the floor.
All right,
And he went
sister,
for help and he got no help.
thank you. I'll try to answer your concern, and it's not unique to you, but your situation was harrowing. I mean, the experience that your son went through, that is something that I know that it's very, very difficult for you, and then to have the healthcare system in the most basic ways let him down. That is a very painful experience, and we have to find ways to prevent those things from happening. One of the things that we have suggested, as Daniel said earlier, is that we are back in 1999, 2001, 2000. The New Democratic Party had done a study to establish a national health insurance plan so that everybody would have basic health insurance and it would be paid for by employer and employee contributions. This is something, it's worked out in detail. It was done by the Health Economics Unit at the University of Western East. It's there to be implemented. And it's something that we have said that we will implement, because here's the problem. People say, well, how are you going to afford it? You can't afford national health insurance plan. People don't choose to get sick. Somebody has to pay when you get sick. And the expensive diseases don't go to rich people and the less expensive one to poor people. The point is that healthcare is a human right, and that the system, we have to pool our resources to ensure that we have a basic healthcare for all of our people. And that would include things like providing crutches. Of course, that's a basic thing. We're not saying that every single thing will be covered, but all of those, the services were spelled out in the plan, and that is why I believe that it is doable. Thank you.
Is there another question? Yes?
I have a question.
Could you stand, please?
Two parts. One to Chevron
Could you stand?
and one to Mr. Friday. Dr. Friday, I beg your pardon. Chevron, you indicated that a sports center of some sort would be your priority for North Windward. Let us know why you think that should be a priority over job development.
Thank you very much. It is not over anything. Sports, jobs will be created in everything. Because if you look at sports, you can have the sports personnel directly, as in the cricketer, the netballer, or whoever it is. You can have commentators getting that job as well. You have persons cleaning that for that job. So in every aspect, you are going to get jobs being created by such a facility.
Thank you. So how do we ensure that the young people that we're creating the sports arena for, that they can actually progress and go far and further with the sports? Like, will there be anything helping them?
Yes, there will, as Dr. Friday mentioned earlier, from our youth pledge, that we are going to provide opportunities for training. So there will be training in every aspect for the sports personnel, for the cleaner, administrators of the building, etc., etc. Well,
There is a brother in the back. Could you ask your question, please?
Yes, this question is directed to Mr. Friday. I'm wondering, what is the trade agreement between Canada and St. Vincent and the Grenadines? Because the reason why I ask this question, if you want to drink a juicy or Hyroon, or we want to eat our blackfish and stuff like that, We don't see it in Canada, but it is in it is in America. So what is the fair trade agreement with Canada?
Well, my friend, I think the crux of the question is really how do we improve the trade in our goods, getting them in markets here in Toronto and elsewhere in Canada. That is a it is a challenge, but it is one that we can meet. And this is something that the diaspora here, people here in this community, can help with. And when we were in New York, one of the things we did, and I don't want to make you feel that we didn't do enough here, but we went and we spoke with various persons in the business community there in Brooklyn, and really impressed upon them the need to assist our local businesses in St. Vincent to export and to do so on a regular basis, not to have this ad hoc thing where, a bag of something come up this weekend and you don't know if it's going to come later on and so forth. You have to have this done in a systematic way. And that is when you hear me talk about having structures in place. I said it briefly, but it's there's a lot to be unpacked there with the diaspora and our business people in St. Vincent. That is what I was thinking of. And the measures and the mechanisms that we use to do so is something that we'll work out together. It's not something that we will impose and say, well, listen, this is how it ought to be done. You can tell us how things we can do to do better. Packaging, supplies, quantities, all those things that need to be done. Payments, methods of payments, and so forth. They sound like small, granular issues, but these are the things that cause things to fail, And if you don't do it right and one shipment goes astray, then the person is lost forever because they can't ever recover from that loss, right? So we have to get those things worked out, and I agree, I'm glad you raised the question, but it's something that we have to do together with the business people here in the diaspora.
Yeah. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mason Keith Alexander, and this question is towards anyone who feels free to answer, but it's direct to the opposition leader, Dr. Friday. Yeah. I'm asking you right now, what is happening in St. Vincent toward Taiwan and St. Vincent, as you know what's going on. As Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, will you continue to do the same thing as present government is doing, or are you going to move more closer to mainland China? That's my first part. The second part of the question is that, we all know that St. Vincent and the Grenadines is an agriculture country. And therefore, as agriculture is being implemented in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, going forward, once you form government, is you going to continue to do the same thing? Or are you going to be in more elevation of the certain direction that you want to put St. Vincent in with agriculture? That's my question.
Thank you very much. As to the first question, as you know, our country, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, has established relations with Taiwan, I think going back to 1981. It has been a fruitful relationship for both sides. We, as a party, we took a position with respect to that relationship. And we have said before and recently that all of those decisions are subject to review whenever we are in a position to have new information going forward. That, you will understand, is something that we are constantly doing. And for us, it's a question of what is in the greatest interest of our country. What is of the greatest benefit to St. Vincent and the Grenadines? That is what guides me, not a matter of saying what is one friend or another. The interest of the country comes first. The second question that you asked was about agriculture. And what I would tell you, I'm glad again that you raised it, because you hear what I've said from the New Democratic Party. Agriculture is, in our plan, one of the 4 pillars of the economy of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. But obviously not agriculture in the way it is now. Agriculture has declined to the point where I think it comprises about 6% of the gross national product of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. It's very small in terms of its importance in the economy. It used to employ a lot of people. It doesn't anymore. A lot of agricultural workers, they've come to Kingstown to look for work, either in selling in stores or in security offices. This is something that we have to turn around. And the agriculture that we're talking about, you're not going to have a single crop like we had with bananas. You're not going to have a single crop like we had historically. We have to be more creative, more nimble. We have to use new technologies to get our productivity increased. And this includes greenhouses, it includes irrigation, it includes more effective marketing and having structures in place. You know what the situation is now? You have farmers, they plant, let's say they plant, I use this example because it's something I experienced myself. Not that I'm a planter, but I experienced it with somebody else. Where you grow ginger, you plant them, you say, okay, the price is, let's say, $150 a sack. And then you come, or whether it's Dashin, you know, more familiar. $120 a sack. You plant them, 7-8 months later when you reap them, the price drop. The only person who takes the loss is the planter, the farmer, nobody else. Because for the trafficker, they come, they say, well, I'll give you $60 a sack, that's it. They make their cut. I was talking to a farmer the other day, and he was saying the similar situation that he had stuff planted up. But the price had dropped to the level where it was going to cost him more to reap it than to sell it. So I said to him, well, what are you going to do? And he shrugged his shoulder. He said, well, Friday, I had to leave it in the soil. I had to leave it in the land. And I said, well, what are you going to do next year? Because you need to plant up again. He didn't answer. The point is that we used to have a marketing board at one time that assisted farmers with that. So when you have fluctuation in prices, that they are not the ones that suffer all the loss. Because the traffickers don't. They always buy at the price that it's going now. But the farmer, if you plant and you have laborers working and you put in inputs and so forth, and you're expecting to get $100 a sack for that sheen, and somebody offering you $60 or $40 sometimes, you know, the dance don't pay for the light, as they say. So the agriculture we're talking about is not your grandfather's agriculture. It's agriculture that we have to be more nimble. We have to be looking at more niche marketing. We have to look at commodities that are lightweight and high value that you can ship easily and by air transport if necessary. And you have to be able to change from season to season, from year to year. The individual farmer cannot do that. You need to have a Ministry of Agriculture that thinks differently. That says, no, my job is to go there and to help you to find markets and to find, not to find obstacles in your path. When you're trying to export something, they're telling you what hurdles you have to jump over, rather than saying, I'm glad you got this and so on, I'm glad you got that, let me help you to get this thing to market. That is really what they ought to be doing.
Do I get the last question?
Yes.
Thank you. No? Last question. Just from listening tonight, from all the speakers here, and just from going back and forth to my country, my beloved country, St. Vincent, and talking to others, it seems like there is underlying corruption, obvious corruption with the current government. Maybe true or false, I don't know, but just from listening from what I'm hearing, documents are hidden, etc., and promises are not being kept. And what I've understood is that services are being delivered along party lines. If you belong to this party, you get services, you get recourse. Crime is committed, you go to the police station, you don't get recourse. My question is this: how does your government intend to address this sort of underlying corruption going forward? Are you going to change that, where if I want to go back to St. Vincent as a senior citizen, I need to know that if something happens to me, my home is broken into, I can go to a body and something is going to be happening, right? That is what I know, because that is what is going to attract me to come back to my home country that I love so much. So I need you to address that critical piece.
Let me deal with the issue of corruption. I have a zero tolerance policy when it comes to corruption. If somebody comes to me and they're credibly involved in something that is corrupt, don't come to me. My advice to you is get a good lawyer. Because the situation is one where we have scarce resources. We can't have people in privileged position who are ripping off the country and pocketing what is really a public good. I am not accusing anybody here, but what I'm saying, in an NDP government led by me, there will be zero tolerance for corruption. We have to change the way in which we do things in St. Vincent, in the Caribbean as a whole. You can't tolerate things and say, well, that is how things are. That wasn't handed down as a tablet of stone to us. We make it that way. And so we can change it. And to do so, we have to expect better of ourselves. If we are citizens, we have to expect better from our politicians, from our leaders, from public servants, senior officers, and also of yourselves. Don't settle for that. It doesn't have to be, and I will not tolerate it in an NDP government. The situation with crime, it's frightening. You know, it touches us home. Doris McIntosh, the other day, her husband walking home from work. She was the assistant general secretary, general secretary of the NDP not so long ago. She called me at midnight from New York. Her husband had been gunned down going home from work. My cousin, on the 20th in January of this year, was gunned down coming out of his place of work in Beckwith. In Beckwith, of all places. So crime is seriously a problem. The problem what we have is that there is too much of this is being done with impunity, because the police are incapable, it seems to me, of preventing and detecting and prosecuting. They need to have the proper tools. We don't have proper forensics in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The days when you could hold somebody in and squeeze the truth out of them, those days are gone. You know, when you're going to court, the defense lawyers will have the statement thrown out, and before you know it, the person is walking. So we have to do better by way of our police officers, and it starts from the very top. You got to have leadership that is professional. You also have to recruit people who are capable of doing the job, not just somebody giving a job because it's a political friend. And then we have to take the politics out of it and let the police do the work. Thank you.
To my left, I am just being reminded that we are over time and we will only have one other person questioning after the brother here to my left.
Well, thank you. First of all, I'd like to make a statement and I'll ask the question afterwards. If I was in St. Vincent, I'll definitely vote for you. That's that. Okay. Secondly, is that think about. Well, I have family, I'll talk to them about that. Ask yourself this question. What two things have given the most problems in your life so far? How to manage money and how to manage relationships. But these two things are never taught in schools anywhere in the world. How to manage your money, how to manage relationships. That's 98% of most people's problems around the world. My question to the future Prime Minister is this. Everything you mentioned will be sustainable in St. Vincent and get the company back up and the economy back up, etc. But to make it sustainable, you have to get the people to learn how to manage money, how to manage relationships. Is that something that's part of your campaign? Very,
Very, very good question. In fact, I think the central bank, the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, did a study sometime recently, which indicated that there's a very high level of financial illiteracy in St. Vincent and the Grenadines and USS in general. But I think we ranked very poorly on that score, and that is something that we need to address. You're absolutely right. People have to know, how to use their resources effectively. And there are so many stories I could tell. I'm a lawyer. I've seen people come to my office and so on, and they have some proposal. And I say, but why are you doing that? And they talk about anybody's business. But why are you doing this? It doesn't make sense financially. And I don't consider myself any particular wizard at it, but there are certain things that you can see quite clearly that they don't simply understand the cost benefit relationship in the decisions that they're doing. So that is something, you're absolutely right. We need to teach it in our schools. Why not? It is a thing that affects our lives every single day, and not just management of money, because to manage money, you have to have money. So, so we have to teach entrepreneurship as well, not just come out and say, well, my aim is to go get a job somewhere else and go get a job there. Somebody had to create them jobs. So why don't you say, well, I will take the responsibility to go into business, like Lavon is doing with her export of, give her a little plug here, of of sea moss from Southern Grenadines, and that industry is growing. But we can teach our people to be more entrepreneurial, and it doesn't have to mean that you're starting a new business. In the way you run your farm, the fisher folk as they go out, we want to transform them from being subsistence fishers to more commercial-based fishers. And that's the plan that we have when we talk about transforming the blue economy. Is to move, as a friend of mine told me one time, the government has a plan where they say they have money and you could buy a boat. What kind of boat you buying? It's a pirogue. You go in there, and a friend of mine from Southern Grenadines, he called me one thing. He said, Friday, what they doing? He said, man, before you go around the rock, your clothes wet and your eyes red. That's the same thing we're doing now. We have to go further and have boats that could go out for a week or something, and then they can earn more. You have something to put aside, and you become a more business-oriented person. There are a few people who are doing that now. They're getting slowly into the business. One of my colleagues from the last election is doing so. So there's potential there. But the gist of your question is well taken, and it's something that I will urge that we as a government do starting from primary school, maybe even kindergarten.
At this point, we'd have Erlene and Petra come forward to make a presentation.
I was told I was the last person.
Ask your question. Just make it brief, right?
Okay, thanks.
Not a statement.
I'll make it. Sorry, I'm not here. I'll make it brief. Okay, I'll make it brief. Thanks, Dr. Friday, for being here. I'm from UN Island. I lived in Canada for approximately 37 years. And because I'm in healthcare, I guess I'm a little focused in that regards. Now, I wanted to know whether there is a process in place, and if it's not in place, what are you going to do when you get into government in regards to if somebody gets into an accident, I will say in Union Island, I can't say for anybody else. What is the process in place that will take that person from point zero to the end? Because sometimes when there is an accident, the person is on the street, there is a friend taking that person, they carry them to the healthcare, and when they get to the healthcare, they're supposed to go to St. Vincent. And it's the parents that has to get the money to charter a plane to send to St. Vincent. So what is the process in place?
Well, right now it's the Coast Guard that usually goes on, but that takes time. Or people will have to put together and get a flight to take them up to mainland, and then you have to hope that the ambulance shows up on time. There's no real system properly in place to do it. One of the things that we have explored, and we have to look at the cost of it, but also, the overall logistics is to have a helicopter to be able to provide that service. And it would be broader than just simply, some healthcare. We can do other services as well, because we know these things, they're very expensive to operate. But when you are in a life-threatening situation in the Southern Grenadines or even in Bequia, we have to be able to get you to the best care that we can as quickly as possible. We have to recognize the reality of our country. We are an archipelago. You know, we are the mainland and we are countries, we are islands spread out. So that reality requires us to put services in place to ensure that citizens all over have access to our best health care. And so that's what we will look into.
Can we have Petra and Erlene come forward, please?
I recognize that there are a few persons who did not get to ask their questions. However, what we will do is Dr. Friday is available after we've concluded officially, and you can always feel free to have those questions addressed, be it by him or other members of the panel. So we do see them, but we do have to close off, all right?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for coming here this evening. So I would like to thank the panel who came all the way from St. Vincent and the Grenadines to spend this time with us. And so on behalf of our president, Mr. Malcolm Garraway, and the New Dems, would like to thank you, Ms. King, Mrs. John, Mr. Cummings, and our next Prime Minister, Dr. Friday, for coming. And so it's not a lot, but we would just like to give this little token of our appreciation to you for coming to and being here with us. Good evening, everyone, again. Just want to thank everyone for coming out. We had a great weekend. And on behalf of our president, Mr. Malcolm Garraway, who is unable to be here today, would like to show our love and appreciation to Dr. Friday.
Big kiss, eh?
Hello, are you hear the news? You must say.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I know Kenneth at the beginning, he made an appeal. He said, listen, this takes a lot of work. And I just want to acknowledge the tremendous effort that Petra and Norlene and Cornetta, David, Kenneth, Kenny, Malcolm, and what else I missed, and the whole team for all of the tremendous work that they have done to do this. This is a very impressive event here today. Thank you so much, guys. And for also our hosts who have put us up over the course of the last few days, ferrying us, driving us around. And some of the people I know went to Niagara. They went out to lunch and dinner, and it's all part of the hospitality. Thank you so much. Thanks for coming out as well.